Okay, it's time for part 2 in the series on creating a mini-me. Part 1, I roughed out the main body, so if you didn't catch that video, you can go back and watch that. And then part 2, we're going to attach the that's better. Anyway, we're going to attach a block so we can carve the right arm. All right, let me show you how I did that. We're going to start working on figuring out, laying out how to cut out these arms we're going to put on the little version of me I'm making. I'm starting this process just by, again, going back to taking some measurements and making ratios, trying to make it accurate. So this will be the top of the shoulder. I'll have that glued on the side. It'll come down to the elbow. And then this is where it gets a little tricky. We want it to angle out in front of me and up a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is first go over the bandsaw and we'll cut it off here at the length it's going to be. And then we're going to start removing some of this other stuff so we can, we'll kind of sketch it, cut it, sketch it, cut it till we get it close enough where I want to glue it on, and then we'll just carve the rest of it in. Okay, back from the bandsaw. Like I said, I cut it to the length from shoulder down to elbow, and I cut the coming out away from the body and then angling up in front. Now what we need to do is kind of cut out some of this on the front here. We come down like this, bring this back, something like that. I'll just rough cut that out. We'll go from there. We'll probably just fit it on there, the body, and then we'll carve the rest. So a little more sketching, drawing, modeling it up here and running the bandsaw. And I think I have what I want to start with, or go to the next step with anyway. And we'll end up gluing that. Remember, we made these nice and flat on here so we could do this. We'll take this chunk of wood and we'll make sure it's plenty high enough we can carve into the shoulder and match that up nice. And this is cut a little short, but that's on purpose because I want to carve the hand with a thumbs up separate, and we'll attach that piece. So earlier in the video I said this will be done in 3 pieces. Really it's going to be 4. The main part, 2 arms, and the thumbs up. On this hand down here, we'll just carve the hand into the piece. I'm going to have this one just kind of come down here below across. But we're going to go ahead and I'll get some, like I'll use 3/16 dowel, and we'll glue that on there and clamp it on there good, and we'll let that set up. Okay, so to attach the arm to the body here, what I like to do, maybe overkill, you could probably just glue that on there and clamp it on there and be fine. I tend to overdo things, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this 3/16 dowel and we'll cut off 1 or 2 pins. I might even do 2. We'll just do 1. 1 will be enough because the glue is going to hold it. You got 3/16 dowel, 3/16 drill bit. I think, I don't know, I've shown this before, but how I like to cut these pins is just take use whatever knife, but the rough out knife works really good. Just make sure it's long enough here and push down on the knife and roll it away from you. Roll it back and forth a few times like that, and then it just snaps right off. You get a little dowel pin. I'm going to hold this up here again. You know, make sure that's high enough. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball where you want that pin to be. So roughly there. And on this side, we'll go ahead and drill in ways. You don't want to go all the way through, obviously. Actually, I went pretty deep on there. Hopefully, if you go too deep and you start carving to shape it, you might run into the end of that dowel, which isn't the end of the world, but it's not ideal. So that just fits in there nice. And I like to keep a pair of needle nose pliers at my desk here, just useful for a lot of things. But when you're messing with these, they're going out pretty tight. Okay, so now we have it in there, and this can be a little bit tricky to do. You kind of want to line it up where you think it's going to be. And there's a couple different ways to do it. One way I like to do this is get it held in place and the best I can try to draw around that dowel. And then I take one more look, see what kind of angle I drew that hole for the pin. And if we can, like in this case, we'll hold it a little higher. It looks like if I go right in pretty straight into there. Now on this side, we have plenty of area, plenty of wood to drill in. So we want to make this hole plenty deep. The last thing you want to have happen is if you're gluing these pieces together and you got your glue on there and you're clamped already and you push it in there and the dowel pin's too long. So you go way in here. Don't worry, he can't feel a thing. You know, sometimes you get these little ripped up wood fibers here around the hole. And again, none of this, it might not be necessary, but I'm just going to kind of chamfer that hole a little bit with my knife. I just don't want anything to get in the way of gluing them together tight. And that side looks nice and clean. Now, I would think, you know, wood glue, like a tight bond wood glue, would probably be best. I'm out of that right now. I've used epoxy before for things like this. Okay, well, I goofed that up, guys. Believe it or not, it's hard to believe. I know it's. How's that possible? So I drilled this hole a little too far back. If we put this pin in here, and I go to put this on, see my alignment is off. The arm's hitting the front, and this notch won't be there. So it's got to come forward a little bit. So we got to do a little repair, and stuff like this is going to happen. The thing is, you just got to know what to do when it does. So what I'm going to do, I take some super glue. This stuff's really thick. Pro gel, I guess, is what it is. We'll get some of that down in here. Put some on the pin too, sure. Well, let's see if I can glue my fingers together. We'll try to avoid that. What I'm doing, it's such a tight fit, that glue on the pin isn't going to do much. So get that in there. And let's take the appropriate tool for the job. And I'm going to pound that pin down in there. Essentially just plugging the hole. And now, let's see if we can go just a little bit more so it's not, it's pretty much in there. Okay, we'll take this knife and just make sure, yep, nothing's sticking up. I just don't want that to be in our way. So let's try this again. Gluing the arm on, take 3, 2. Okay, we're gonna see that needs to be a little more forward. The top corner. Now if we take a little peek in here, it looks like the hole needs to be basically right next to that other one. Now with that pin in there, we should be able to just drill that. We had to plug the hole because if we tried to move that over a little bit, it wouldn't have went. So let's try this again. Clean up around the hole again. The hole 2.0. See how that plug stayed in there, and we're able to drill right next to where we were and still have a nice hole in there. Okay, now we're going to need another pin. We can do that. It just takes a couple times rolling that back and forth, and then just snap right off. Let's see if we're going to make it work this time. There we go. See that? Fits this time. It's a little tight right there, and I don't know if it comes out, if you can see it. There is a little gap. It should be coming in a little tighter. So right here in the corner, I'll take a little bit out with my knife, and we'll just mark right here. Well, we'll just take a little bit like that. Okay. Let's do that and see how it's going to fit. And get my carving glove on and thumb guard. Okay, now we need to just use this detail knife here. We'll come in here and take a little of this out here. I don't think it's going to take much. It was pretty close. And then we want to remove some down here. Okay, let's see how that works. There we go. Now we're able to get it a nice tight fit up against the side. Might take just a little bit more right out of that corner. It's close, I think. We don't want to have to force it. We'll just take a little more right out in here. Okay, one more test fit and then we'll glue it on there. Okay, we're still above here, so we can carve the shoulder down and match it up. Of the arm angled, elbow out a little bit. It's going to come up here. It's not touching there, so we can carve around there, and we'll put a thumb right on there. All right, I like that. I'm just going to mark this so when I glue it on there, I keep that angle. Okay. Sometimes you don't get things quite right. Don't be afraid to try a fix and try again. That's how we learn. I'll glue the pin in here. Ah. Almost pushed it in there too far. It'll still work. Just for alignment and a little support. Okay. Now we put the glue on the rest of it here. I'm going to put the super glue on this side. I'll put a good layer on there. And then we'll use our accelerator. I'm going to do this off camera just so I don't get this all over here, but I'm just going to spray this, get this coated on here. Okay, put that on there. And put the two together. And we'll hold it for a few seconds. Okay, got that attached on there. Nice big chunky arm. I always like to start, you can always cut it off and shape it. It's harder to put pieces on once you start carving it. So we'll make sure you have plenty of wood there. And I like to make sure I'm above where I currently am. Like if I'm doing an arm on, I want to be above where I currently am so I can continue to slope that down, because your arm and shoulder kind of round off, come out like that. One thing I just noticed though, the way this is shaped, there's going to be a little extra wood back here. So the arm will be coming out this direction, like the direction of the ruler here. And this little area inside here is going to have to be removed. And I think I want to do that now before I get the hand glued on there so there's more room. So I'm just going to mark that out like that. And we'll just carve that out of there. I'll just kind of carefully work my way down in there. Or I could just do that and take it all off in one slice. Sometimes things just work out. So that broke off exactly. I mean, I planned it that way. Let's be honest. That's what I wanted to do. Okay. So we got that kind of narrowed down, which is good. Kind of coming away from my body there. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to make that hand and thumb separate. Just because we have I think it'll be easier to do in a separate piece. Okay. Okay, now that we're done with part 2, where we attached the block on the arm, on the side of the body for the right arm, coming up in part 3, you'll see where I start roughing that out and kind of blending it in with the body. So be sure to catch that one, part 3 coming up. And thanks for watching.